Terrifying recent discoveries that left scientists speechless, a millennium-old mystery unsolved. Hello, and welcome to Ancient History. Dear friends, have you ever wondered, after thousands of years buried in time, how these ancient mysteries can still hold such an irresistible allure? Just when we think science has explained it all, new discoveries emerge that leave even top experts stunned and speechless. These bizarre findings don't just shake the academic world, they also push us, ordinary people, to question history and even our own place in it. Sometimes it's a mysterious ruin, sometimes it's a strange artifact, and other times it's a phenomenon so baffling that even modern technology can't make sense of it. These discoveries are like scattered puzzle pieces, challenging every scientific theory we thought we understood. And perhaps most chilling of all, they reveal a haunting truth. There are ancient secrets, thousands of years old, that remain completely unsolved, silently existing beyond the limits of human knowledge. In today's video, we'll uncover some of those secrets and dive into shocking recent discoveries that have left the scientific community at a loss for words. Together, we'll explore strange clues and unexplained phenomena, helping us glimpse a vast and mysterious world, one we may have never imagined. Are you ready to join me in investigating these age-old mysteries? Get ready. This journey might just make you question everything you thought you knew. Now, let's dive into our first discovery. The 1,500-year-old lovers' skeletons found embracing in a tomb. In China, once the cradle of powerful dynasties, war and chaos were almost daily occurrences throughout thousands of years of history. Yet amidst that backdrop, some love stories have managed to live on, not through poetry or legend, but preserved in flesh and bone, deep in the cold earth. To begin today's video, let me share with you a strange and deeply moving archaeological discovery. The 1,500-year-old remains of a couple found embracing in a tomb, a scene that left the entire world at a loss for words. It all began last summer during construction work at a site in Datong City, Shanxi Province, China. A group of workers accidentally unearthed an ancient tomb from the Northern Wei dynasty, a period that lasted from AD 386 to 534 and was known for its political turmoil. But what shocked everyone wasn't the age of the tomb, it was what was found inside. When archaeologists opened the tomb, they were stunned to find the skeletons of a man and a woman locked in a tight embrace, arms wrapped around each other as if they had never parted. The man lay on the left, one arm reaching across to hold the woman's abdomen. The woman rested her head on his shoulder, one arm draped gently across his waist, a position strikingly similar to a tender hug between two living lovers. Even more astonishing, the woman still wore a simple silver ring on her ring finger, a tiny artifact with enormous significance. That single detail led archaeologists to believe this wasn't just a shared burial site. They were husband and wife, joined in life and in death. And you know what? Thanks to the well-preserved remains, scientists were able to determine that the man died around age 30, with evidence of an unhealed fracture in his right arm. Some theories suggest he may have been a warrior who died in battle. The woman, about 35 years old, showed signs of impacted wisdom teeth, indicators that both were likely commoners rather than members of royalty or nobility. But the biggest mystery, and the one that sparked the most debate, is why they died in such a loving embrace. Some believe they perished together in an accident or natural disaster, but the most widely accepted theory is that the husband died first and the wife took her own life to be buried alongside him, hoping to remain with him forever in the afterlife. It's a heartbreaking theory, but also incredibly beautiful, isn't it? Professor Wang, a paleontologist from Texas A&M University who led the research on the tomb, stated that this theory aligns with the cultural values of the Northern Wei era. Despite being a time of war, society then held romantic love in high regard. It mirrors the traditional Chinese folktale, The Butterfly Lovers, where two star-crossed lovers die together and are transformed into butterflies, flying away from the grave, never to be separated again. What makes this discovery even more extraordinary is that among more than 600 ancient tombs excavated in the same cemetery in 2020, a few did contain couples, but only this one preserved two skeletons perfectly intact, still locked in an embrace after 1,500 years. It is truly one of a kind. This isn't just an archaeological finding, it's a vivid, undeniable testament to a love that transcended time and even defied the societal norms of the era. You see, the Northern Wei dynasty was heavily influenced by Confucian ideals, which frowned upon public displays of affection, even between husband and wife. But this embrace, buried deep underground, tells a different story. Some believe that the local community may have intentionally buried them this way, as a silent gesture of support for their love. This story didn't just shock archaeologists, it moved millions of hearts, because clearly, some things go beyond even death, like love, connection, and the unyielding desire to be together forever. The 4,500-year-old royal boat lying silent beneath Egypt's desert sands. In a place so scorching that even time itself seems to hesitate, amid the arid expanse of Egypt's Abusir Desert, a mystery that had slumbered for 4,500 years has finally emerged beneath the blazing sun. It's not a tomb, not a statue of a god, not even a treasure trove. It's a wooden boat, nearly 60 feet long, lying silently as if waiting for someone to awaken its story. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Who would bury an entire boat in the middle of the desert? But when it comes to ancient Egypt, even the most illogical things often have a sacred reason. And behind this boat lies a spiritual journey rich with myth and reverence. Archaeologists discovered the vessel in the southern necropolis of Abusir, a burial site reserved for powerful nobles from the early days of ancient Egypt, and from the very moment they found it resting on a massive stone base, buried deep beneath the sand, they knew this was no ordinary boat. Measuring nearly 60 feet in length, constructed from ancient wooden planks with incredibly refined joinery, this vessel was not built to sail the Nile like other boats of the time. It was a funerary boat, also known as a solar bark, created to carry the soul of the deceased across the earthly realm into the eternal afterlife, into the presence of the gods. If you've ever heard of the boats buried next to pyramids to serve the pharaohs in the afterlife, then the Abusir boat is one of those sacred relics, a royal funerary artifact that reflects the ancient Egyptians' deep belief in life after death. What sent chills down archaeologists' spines was the astonishing condition of the vessel. It was almost entirely intact, an incredibly rare occurrence after lying beneath the desert sands for more than 45 centuries. Not only that, but the surrounding artifacts, pottery, jars, and cooking vessels were all carefully arranged, indicating a meticulously prepared funeral ritual, not a random burial. Based on the size and structure of the boat, experts believe it may have belonged to a member of the royal family or a high-ranking religious figure. The carvings, the nailless woodworking technique, and the sheer durability of the design have even left modern engineers in awe. Just imagine, over 4,500 years ago, with no machinery, ancient craftsmen used only wood, palm rope, bare hands, and extraordinary intelligence to construct a boat of this scale. It's clear why the ancient Egyptians weren't just pyramid builders. They were also pioneers of ancient naval engineering. But this discovery isn't just a historical milestone. It could also serve as a major boost for Egypt's tourism industry, which has struggled in recent years due to political instability. Now, this sacred 4,500-year-old boat could become a powerful new symbol, drawing archaeology lovers from around the world back to the land of the Nile. And it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the boat at Abusir isn't just rotting wood or an archaeological artifact. It's a letter from the past, written in the silent language of time, sending the present a message about belief, reverence for the dead, and humanity's eternal longing for immortality. When the final grains of sand were brushed away, it wasn't just a boat that appeared. It was an entire worldview, a once great civilization so brilliant that even time bows to its memory. Ancient Egypt, a land where boats didn't just carry people across rivers, they carried souls across death itself to touch eternity. And of course, countless mysteries still lie hidden beneath those golden sands. Let's wait and see what astonishing revelations the archaeologists of tomorrow will unearth from this timeless land. The 500-year-old human bone wall inside an ancient church. A wall, quite literally, built from human bones. Not from a horror movie or a ghost story, but in the heart of Ghent, Belgium. And what's more astonishing is that it remained hidden in plain sight for over 500 years, until its accidental discovery. It was only on February 18, 2020, during an excavation at St. Bavo's Church, a centuries-old Gothic cathedral steeped in medieval history, that archaeologists stumbled upon this bizarre and eerie structure. Unlike traditional brick or stone, This building material sent chills down everyone's spine. It was made from human femurs, tibias, and skulls, all carefully arranged in layers, stacked on top of one another as if part of a deliberate architectural plan. So the question naturally arises, why would anyone do this? According to Janik de Grijs, the lead archaeologist on the dig, the most plausible theory is that the wall was built in the 17th century, after the cemetery surrounding the church was leveled. Faced with hundreds, perhaps thousands, of displaced remains, people at the time, rather than cremating or discarding the bones, chose to reuse the most essential parts, the bones, to construct new burial structures. And thus, the human bone wall was born. Sound heartless? Maybe, but in the context of that era, it wasn't necessarily the macabre act we might imagine today. You see, in medieval Christian belief, the soul would one day be resurrected, and the bones, especially the large bones like femurs, pelvises, and skulls, were believed to carry the identity of the soul. Preserving these parts meant preserving the possibility of resurrection after death. Due to time constraints or limited resources, smaller bones, especially those of children, may have been left behind during the collection process. Not out of disrespect, but perhaps simply because the circumstances didn't allow for complete recovery. Even more fascinating, this isn't the only recent case that has archaeologists both intrigued and puzzled. Just a month earlier, in Poland, 4 mysterious warrior graves from the 11th century were unearthed. And in early February, over 40 skeletons were discovered at a construction site in the UK, their arms tied behind their backs, hinting at a mass execution never recorded in historical documents. These back-to-back discoveries not only make medieval European history more compelling, but also raise deep questions about burial customs, beliefs, and how our ancestors coped with death. Looking again at the bone wall inside St. Bavo's church, one thing becomes clear. To those people, human bones weren't just the remains of the dead, they were part of the next life. That wall, instead of being just a cold, grim structure, may have once been a shelter for the soul, a sacred element in funeral rites, something deeply tied to the spiritual beliefs of the time. 2 skeletons, making love in death. A 1,500-year-old mystery from Korea's ancient Silla dynasty. In the world of archaeology, already full of strange and astonishing discoveries, there are some findings so profound, they leave even the most seasoned experts speechless. And this story is one of them. A 1,500-year-old tomb buried deep in the earth of South Korea, where 2 human skeletons, one male, one female, were found in a position that appears to depict sexual intercourse. The discovery shocked not only because of its provocative nature, but also because it raises countless unanswered questions about culture, ritual, and the true identities of these 2 individuals. The tomb has been identified as belonging to the Silla dynasty, one of the oldest and most powerful kingdoms in Korean history, lasting from 57 BC to AD 935. According to archaeologists from the Silla Cultural Heritage Research Foundation, the tomb was constructed from earth and stone, containing the remains of a young woman and a man believed to be between 20 and 30 years old, positioned in a way that immediately evokes the image of 2 lovers in the act of intimacy. At first glance, it may seem romantic, but the deeper researchers dug, figuratively and literally, the more they leaned toward a darker theory. The man may not have been a lover, but rather a sacrificial victim, killed and buried alongside the woman as part of an ancient funerary rite. So what led to this chilling conclusion? First, the woman's body was laid out in a solemn, dignified position, lying on her back, face turned upward, adorned with finely crafted gold earrings, clear indicators of high social status. She may have been a noblewoman or even a female warrior. In stark contrast, the man's skeleton showed no grave goods whatsoever, no weapons, no jewelry, and no visible signs of rank or identity. Additionally, parts of his bones were found collapsed over the woman's body, suggesting that his remains may have been placed there after hers, and not at the same time. One alternate theory is that the man might originally have been placed in a small wooden coffin above or near the woman's body. Over the centuries, the coffin decayed, causing the bones to fall and settle in a position that gives the illusion of intimacy. Still, no one can say for sure. Adding to the intrigue, in a separate chamber adjacent to the tomb, archaeologists found weapons, horse saddles, and pottery, evidence that the woman wasn't just a person of status, but likely someone trained in horseback riding and combat. highly unusual for women of that era. As for the man, nothing was found besides his skeleton. Was he simply a servant sacrificed to follow his mistress into the afterlife, or a lover forced to accompany her on her final journey? According to archaeologist Kim Kwon-il, such discoveries are rare, but not entirely unprecedented in Korean history. However, what makes this case unique is the proximity and intimacy of the burial. Traditionally, sacrificial victims, if present, were buried in separate compartments, often with symbolic objects. But in this case, they were laid side by side in a strikingly intimate pose, with no obvious signs of restraint or violence. This ambiguity has cast a thick fog over their identities and relationship. Debate continues. Were they truly lovers, choosing death together to never be parted? Or was this a brutal ritual, where a lower-class man was sacrificed to serve a powerful woman in the afterlife? The 17 tiny mummies on the summit of Arthur's Seat. When we think of mummies, we usually picture sunlit pyramids, the glorious Egyptian civilization, and great pharaohs buried in magnificent tombs. But few know that in a dark, cold land in northern Europe, associated with legends of King Arthur and Camelot Castle, exists one of the strangest archaeological mysteries ever discovered. 17 tiny mummies, placed in 17 small wooden coffins, hidden deep inside a rock cave on Arthur's Seat Hill, Edinburgh, Scotland. No one knows where they came from, why they were made, or what happened to half of them. But one thing is certain: they do not belong to any dynasty or religion known in human history. Arthur's Seat, the extinct volcano hill east of Edinburgh Castle, is steeped in legend and mythology, once believed to be the site of Camelot in the tales of King Arthur. But in 1836, this fairy tale land suddenly became the focus of archaeologists and the press when 5 boys, while hunting rabbits, stumbled upon a strange rock crevice. Inside, there was no treasure or human skeletons, but 17 tiny coffins, each only about 3 to 4 inches long. Each coffin contained a wooden figurine, roughly carved but fully dressed, as if they were miniature versions of real people. This bizarre discovery immediately stirred Victorian scholars and the public. The July 20, 1836 issue of the London Times described the event in detail and raised many questions. Why exactly 17 mummies? Why arranged in 3 rows, 2 rows of 8 and 1 row with just 1? And most importantly, who made them, and for what purpose? Unfortunately, shortly after the discovery, some boys recklessly burned a few coffins. Fortunately, the rest were collected and temporarily preserved by a professor named Ferguson. He was the first to open these tiny coffins, confirming that inside were wooden figurines dressed in detailed clothing. However, the mummies fell into neglect for over half a century. It wasn't until 1901 that 8 of the remaining figurines suddenly resurfaced and were donated to the National Museum of Scotland. This marked the official start of archaeological investigations into the mystery of the tiny mummies. Through careful analysis, researchers found the figurines were carved with knives from soft wood. Notably, most were missing 1 arm, possibly to make it easier to dress them. Among the 8 specimens, 3 were more finely crafted with rounded edges, while the other 5 were quite crude, suggesting at least 2 different makers were involved in creating these strange works. Clothing studies also revealed clues about their date of origin. According to experts Simpson and Menifee, the fabric worn by the figurines only appeared in Scotland after 1812, when cotton began replacing linen. This indicates the figurines could not have been made before that time. But what puzzled scholars the most was the true purpose of these tiny mummies. Some locals believed they were dolls used in magic, possibly talismans or witchcraft tools for protection or exorcism. Another theory suggested they were spiritual symbols carried by Scottish sailors at sea, either for safety or to honor deceased loved ones. However, the most controversial and fascinating theory connects to a notorious Scottish crime: the murder duo William Burke and William Hare. In the 1820s, they killed 17 victims to sell their bodies to Edinburgh Medical School for research. The chilling coincidence of 17 victims and 17 figurines led many to believe the tiny mummies were a strange form of memorial or penance created by a third party involved in the case but never prosecuted. Yet, this theory faces a significant challenge. Among Burke and Hare's 17 victims, 12 were women, while most figurines wore men's clothing. Thus, the connection remains unconvincing and leaves the mystery unresolved. To this day, the whereabouts of the other 9 figurines remain unknown. Lost over time, passing through private collectors' hands, They may still lie forgotten in dark attics or secret drawers never opened. The story of the 17 tiny mummies on Arthur's Seat Hill lives on, not only as a curious tale, but also as a symbol of the mysteries history cannot or will not reveal. In archaeology, not every secret has an answer, and sometimes it's that very uncertainty that keeps us captivated by the fragments of the past. So, today's journey of discovery has come to an end, but surely the mysteries we've explored together remain, like a big puzzle waiting for someone to solve. Have you ever wondered if humanity will be able to find answers to these mysterious things anytime soon? Or will these secrets forever remain unanswered questions? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings about these shocking discoveries. Do you believe in the scientific facts, or do you still hold a bit of doubt about things that can't yet be explained? Don't hesitate to share your opinions in the comments below, because it's you who will help build a lively and exciting community of explorers. Also, if you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming videos full of unbelievable mysteries. Thank you all for joining me today, and see you again on the next thrilling adventure. Keep your curiosity and passion for discovery alive, because this world still has many untold stories waiting.